5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Save me, Jebus!
Worst episode ever. Welcome to Sacrilicious with Robin and Snurts, a Simpsons review podcast. I'm your lovable nerd Snurts, aka Joshua Stearns, and joining me is the equally delightful Robin. Don't have a cow, coward.
Heyo! Josh, my friend, how the hell are you?
We made it to 11 episodes. Woohoo!
I know, 10 episodes is a good deal. I'm impressed with us. So you've been watching the convention this week at all?
A little bit here and there. I'm already voting for Harris, so I don't really care. I just want this election to be over. Pull the Band-Aid off.
I've only watched
I just want to know how screwed we are.
In the fourth night, and the theme is like smart, really strong women, which is something in my life that's been very important that I'm very grateful for.
I did obviously listen to the same news podcast I always do, and they covered
Which
the
is
nights,
that, Josh?
538, Slate Political Gabfest, Left, Right, and Center, On the Media, Pod Save America, Love It or Leave It.
There you are, folks.
People, all sorts of things out there. But yeah, I'm glad the momentum is there for the Democrats, and we'll see what happens. But
I'm glad the momentum is there for us. I love the new format.
Yeah.
And I'm just thoroughly impressed that 10 episodes, it feels like we're still just getting going.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started. Moxford mentioned on Twitter that he caught us because we didn't do Who Shot Mr. Burns part 1 and 2 like we were originally planning. And I told him, I was like, yeah, we had all these pairing ideas. Like we were going to do a baseball episode with Homer at bat and Dancing Homer. We were going to do the 2 pod episodes. We were going to do back-to-back Who Shot Mr. Burns. But when the format changes, we took a look at our tracker and made a few adjustments here and there. Because it's like it just feels a little different when you're only talking about one Simpsons episode and you don't really have to like try to find themes or connections between
it's
them.
It's a great idea, and I think that we should have the thought in mind that people can listen to them back to back and still make some of those connections 100%.
Yeah, and as we always do, we will bring up connections that I think this happened in our last episode and whatnot. So, and
which keeps happening, by the way. It's eerie.
Yeah. I mean, when you have this much content and the same writers behind things, you're going to see parallels.
100.
And if this is your first episode of Sacrilicious with Robin and Snurts, here's how it works. One of us picks an episode of The Simpsons and we talk. It's that simple. And this week, Robin picked from season 11, episode 15, Missionary Impossible, which sounds a lot dirtier when I first heard it. Because I wasn't thinking of missionary work, I was thinking of sex.
The position.
And this was directed by Stephen Dean Moore. So we have back-to-back Stephen director episodes. And this was written by Ron Haig. I think that's how you pronounce that. Sorry, Ron, if I screwed that up. First air date of February 20th in the year 2000.
In the year 2000.
So I would have been heading my way to graduating high school and having a grand old time. I had a car, a girlfriend, I only had 4 classes. I was smoking trees like it was a goddamn reggae festival every single day. So I'm pretty sure I was having a good old time in February of 2000. How about you, man?
I just graduated from college in New York, and I was in New York. I had a great apartment down in the Meatpacking District, no pun intended. And and yeah, I was having a blast trying to get work. It was tough, and but smoking weed, playing video games with my friends. We were going over to there's a place called the Sports Center on Chelsea Pier, and it was gyms just sitting out on the river, and it was gorgeous. And we'd go over there and play basketball and then eat shawarma. It was a magical time, Josh.
Yeah, awesome. Very, very good times for both of us. Well, why did you bring us Missionary Impossible today?
And we talked about this before, is that I remember episodes just clog my brain, and I will forever think of them. And there's several moments in this episode that do that for me, and it's one that I've always loved. And I actually had two separate bits from this that I loved that I thought were separate, and they're in the same episode.
Oh,
And
nice. I love it when that happens, when you
right,
misremember things and like I'll be like, "Oh
yes,
wait, that B plot is part of this A plot." Oh,
exactly.
right. Of
We
course
talked
it
about it. There's
is.
three huge bits in this episode that are just absolutely classic. So
It also feels like there's definitely sections of this episode, right? Like where
yeah,
the first half feels really different than the second half, even though they're tied together.
100%.
And I personally love the opening bits as well, as we'll get into. I also found that the chalkboard gag was okay. It's kind of like meh. Like I would call this a popsicle stick joke. So I don't know
Yep.
if they still do this, but like when I was growing up and I would have a
Oh
popsicle,
yeah.
there'd be like a joke on there, like, "Oh, what's a vampire's favorite vehicle? A blood vessel." And so a belch is not an oral report is
A
very
belch is not an
reminiscent to me
oral
of like a
report.
popsicle stick joke where you're like, "Yeah, okay, that's funny."
It's kind of the most obvious for this
Yeah.
medium in a way.
What? And that is my report. I think it would be funnier if that was like a visual thing where Bart just burped one out. And then he's like, and that's my
Right.
thoughts on the Civil War, you know?
The couch gag also was a bit simplistic. I mean, it's not. It's interesting, but I'll tell you this: it's the couch gag is they're in a subway station, Evergreen Terrace subway station, and they're just sitting on the subway bench waiting, and the train pulls up, and they get on, and it goes off. It's really well done through the animation,
Yeah.
but now nothing happens. There's no joke there,
Yeah, it's
which
just a
is a
thing
bit
that
odd to me,
happens.
Josh.
I mean, I guess the joke is that their house is the subway station.
Yeah, that's
Um,
not fun. That's not a joke.
yeah. I,
So something was going on. I think it was the toads.
It could have been, but not all the couch gags are going to be bangers.
Oh yeah.
And it's not until much later that we get the really elaborate couch gags. When we get into it down the road, I mean, I'm thinking of Banksy in particular. They get really, really elaborate. So it is kind of weird when I'm looking back at older episodes after seeing the more elaborate couch gags. You're like, oh, I mean, these kind of just like, yeah, they're okay.
It's interesting. I do love it though. Like I love picking them apart a little bit like this.
Yeah. So let's see here. I guess we open up with Homer watching a PBS show called "Do Shut
The
Up."
surprising part of it, because Bart comes in. He's like, "You're watching PBS," and he's like, "I'm as surprised as you." And he calls it the most delicious sitcom. It's called "Do Shut Up."
Yeah, I love his description too. It's like about a hard drinking yet loving family of soccer hooligans.
They're not having a go with the bird. They're having a row with the wanker.
Cheeky.
Cheeky. So thank you for supporting this podcast and all of your favorite shows on PBS. This program has been made possible by a grant from Do Shut Up.
Hey, why don't you shut up?
Oh, shut your gob, you tit!
I really wish you would shut up.
Oh, shut your pie liquor!
Your trap of a mouth should be shut.
Shut your poop sniffer!
You just need to shut up.
Shut your snot jockey piss womp!
Please close your kisser.
Listen, you just seal up your lip smacking with glue.
Shut up.
My dad tells me I should just shut up.
These freaking kids never shut up.
Shutly up, neighbor.
Oh my god, I can't believe you won't close your yap. And you just keep seeing flapping and flapping and gapping and gapping, and I have no idea what you were talking about. Such nonsense is coming through your mouth. I can't even believe you won't shut the fuck up.
Homie, do shut up. Do Shut Up is this program on PBS, which we learned that it's the longest running show on PBS, and
Well, no, the longest
basically
running British show. It's the longest running British show with a full 7 episodes.
Yes.
And anybody who's a fan of the BBC knows that that's
Yes.
a great joke.
You know, there's a law, Josh, in the UK that you cannot sign an actor to a contract more than 3 years because of abuse of that in the past.
Oh, I see.
Because so many people are trying to be artists that you can really abuse that, and they have a law, and it's very good, and it's created some of the best television in history.
Absolutely.
But, this is a send up. I can't remember what this show was called, but there's actually a couple of British shows that really were kind of like this.
Oh, really?
And,
Okay.
yeah.
I thought they were just being like just being assholes and making fun of British people.
We had some of them on later in the show, you're gonna hear, but you know, it's just them in the house. It's like the two hooligans, the dad and the son, and it's like, jolly sodding Xmas, Major, choke on it, oh crikey.
Yeah, I love how the mom comes in, scalds them with hot boiling water, and
Homer's like, she's the voice of reason.
Yeah, exactly. And then here come the cricket bats, and we cut to a
She
PBS pledge
goes,
drive.
you don't have the cobbles.
Yeah.
And then we cut to who, Josh? Our favorite, the most
Good old Betty
beloved
White.
woman of all history, Betty White.
Yeah, she's a saint. I like Betty White a lot. She actually has this great joke that I found on Twitter many years ago, and she goes, "Why do we always equate like being tough with balls? Balls are weak and flabby. We should equate toughness with a pussy. Those things take a pounding."
Oh, Betty.
And to hear that joke come out of the amount of like what is like a very stereotypical white grandma who's like, you know, she looks like she goes to church twice on Sundays type of deal.
A lot of these women were like old school comics.
Yes.
And like, you know about what's the man's name who did America's Funniest Home Videos?
Oh yeah, Bob Saget.
Saget,
he has a filthy mouth.
Is known to be the filthiest, nastiest comic, the funniest motherfucker ever lived. 2 other comics, in where they only got to see him. And I think that is such a wonderful thought that he was the funniest man alive, but he saved that for his colleagues and his friends.
Right. I mean, it's the same thing where like I never really understood why my mom and godmother liked Golden Girls so much. Because I was so young when it was on, all the jokes went over my head, all the innuendos, right? And then when you watch it later, you're like, oh man, these are like horny old broads that live together. Like this is hilarious.
Extraordinary writing, Josh.
Yeah.
Extraordinary writing in that show.
Yeah.
So Betty White, our classic, beloved. She's watching, and she shut up, and she's like, classic. It's not hard to see why it's England's longest running series. So what they cut to, and Homer's like, what the hell is they're doing a pledge drive? And if you watch PBS, as I love to watch PBS, although now I watch it mostly on like reruns, but when you watch it and they're doing a pledge drive, they will come on and they will cut out your shit for 10 minutes talking about call in and pledge, because it's very important, or else you couldn't be watching this, you dick.
It's the same thing when with NPR. So I do listen to NPR on the radio when I have to go into the office twice a week. And every time it's a pledge week, I might as well just turn the radio off, because there's the news and then it's them just making you feel guilty for watching something for free and not giving money. And Betty White actually goes into this a bit, and she's like, I just get so mad when those people don't pay. You're a thief. I'm sorry, but these thieves get me so mad.
You know who you are, thieves.
I also think their PBS donation gifts are hilarious. Do you remember the donation gifts?
Amazing. So they do the tote bag, of course, Josh. And what was the next one?
An umbrella with the tote bag as a picture of
A
on the
picture of
umbrella.
a tote bag. and then we get, it's because the other PBS guy that's on the episode, he's like, and now it's time to go back, and Homer's like, yes, and he goes, but first, which is keys us into exactly what we hate, is when they're like, oh no, you thought it was going to start again, but we needed 7 more minutes of your time. And then the other gift you get is the next 20 callers will get the album of museum noises. Now your music room can sound just like the Metropolitan Museum in New York. And it's like footsteps and like somebody going, and the guy goes, outstanding. So
I'm also reminded of that episode where like Homer is waiting for the trailers to come on that we covered, right? And I can imagine him being like, I'm laughing, but it's a laughter of impatience.
Exactly. Betty White has another little funny joke there. She goes, I've worked with so many legendary actors over the years who could be counted on to phone it in. Well, now it's your turn to phone it in.
Yeah, that's a great joke. I also love how she mentions that $10,000 leave the show back on. And what's Homer's great idea?
He calls in and he's like, yes, I would like to pledge $10,000 to get them to shut up. And he's like, from Anonymous. And then Bart's like, you don't have $10,000. She's like, they're not going to find me. And Betty White's like, we just reached our goal, and it's thanks to one generous caller who didn't leave his name, but thanks to InstaTrace, we know who it is. Homer Simpson.
Why did I sign up for InstaTrace?
Why did I sign up for InstaTrace? Our pledge enforcement van will be at his house in moments. And the pledge enforcement van is a gang of PBS crew, the roster, coming to enforce his donation to say this. Which of course,
and it kind of looks like the giant check that you would get from Publishing Clearinghouse, and everything to that nature. They have a fun little shaky cam from the POV leading up to the door. And so Homer is confronted by a gaggle of people.
And he's like, here's the man who donated the money. They cut to like an electronics store, and the only glimpse we get, the first glimpse we get of Lisa and Marge is Lisa's like, Mom, that's on PBS.
They don't show police chases, do they?
And Homer goes, it's an honor to give $10,000, especially now when the rich mosaic of cable programming has made public television so very, very unnecessary.
From now on, one of us always stays at home.
Agreed.
I also love how Marge is buying greeting cards that are sold at $5 a pound, and it's very much like it's a dry good, where she's like scooping it up into the scale, which I find is hilarious. I also thought it was really adorable that you can tell the women are the only ones who have their poop together in this family.
Exactly, and like she's not stressed out. She's just like, from now on, one of us has to stay home. And
she's just rolling with the punches.
Very matter of fact, like we knew we shouldn't have even done this, and we did, and we're paying for it. So, then they're trying to enforcing this, and he's back. And he's like, I'll pay you, but and the guy's like, Homer's like, do you accept cash? And the guy's like, of course. And he goes, well, there's the problem, because the banks are closed. Like, he's just trying to avoid
and it's the middle of the day. And it's the middle of the day. The banks aren't closed.
It's packed. People coming in and out constantly. He's peering in. He's like, yep, it's a ghost town in there. And
we see the PBS folks too are like continuing to lose their patience.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. They starting to get an edge to them.
Yeah.
And the last thing he tries is he goes to the bank teller and he's like, hints him a note that says, like, you're on TV. He's like, am I being robbed? He's like,
yeah, that was hilarious.
Later. And then they're like, you don't have the money, do you? Finally. And so Homer then tries to stab the guy with a fucking bank pin. And it's just on the fucking, like, the little tether,
yeah, it's on its little chain, and he tries to stab at the heart.
Do they still do that at banks?
I don't see it, really, when I go to my credit union.
It's like theft from the lower classes is as indicative of banks as the pin on a tether.
Yeah, I mean, back when we were doing things less digitally and still using triplicate, you would have pens everywhere while people were filling out withdrawal or deposit forms. This is for
You
all
also
those
used to have
kids who were
money.
born after the year 2000, I guess.
In
But I love
the
how Homer
year
does like 3 quick jabs
2000.
to the heart, and the chain
He goes,
stops him,
I
and
can't
then he
do
kind of
it.
sighs, and then he goes, or maybe, and he like
He
tries to
tries
stab his
him in the
crotch.
Crotch stabbing is always funny, Josh.
And it's just a very funny visual gag because those things weren't like it wasn't like a chain link, it wasn't heavy duty. Odds are if you were trying to stab somebody with it, you could probably like just yank
Pop
it
it
from the
out. Yeah.
foundation and it would pop off.
But it's the only thing that saved that man.
Yeah, and then Betty White comes in with a very kind of like like what is that word?
It's conciliatory. Like,
yeah,
you don't have the money, do you, Homer?
no.
And you thought you could stab your problems away?
Uh-huh.
You silly goose. And then that was what I call PBS attacks. The entire roster of PBS, she's like, sick him. And
yeah, she says,
like,
"Get him,
runs.
boys," and then she snaps her finger. It's hilarious.
You got Mr. Rogers. Yep. He's after. He's like, "It's a beautiful day to kick your ass."
Big Bird comes flying in.
It's terrifying. There's a little bit of a racist joke with Yoni Ma. He's like, "You die now." I'm like,
a little bit.
It's funny though.
A little bit of a stereotype there.
And
I also love how like
Teletubbies.
Homer is like running for his life, and all of a sudden he shouts "bingo," and then it cuts to the church, and it says "bingo" on the side.
7 p.m.
So
it's the dumbest
silly.
joke, Josh. It's
and he starts running in the church, and he goes, "Sanctuary, sanctuary," and Lovejoy goes, why did I teach him that word?
Why did I teach him that word? It's absolutely one of the best jokes in the Sanctuary. So this is number one of the jokes that just like called back is Sanctuary, sanctuary. Why did I teach him that word?
Lovejoy has only a few lines in this and a few scenes, but they are top notch. Very fun.
So like they toss the garbage can through the window. PBS is like breaking in.
And then Oscar the Grouch and Elmo pop out. Elmo's like, Elmo knows where you live.
Elmo knows where you live.
Yeah, and a very Children of the Corn type of voice.
They had like slightly different names, you said.
Yeah, so in the DVD commentary, which was another snoozer this time around, but they mentioned how they had to change the names a little bit. So instead of like Oscar the Grouch, it's Oscar Grouchy or something like that, or Grouchy Oscar. Like it was just little things like that. I think Elmo, they just put like a UUE or something like that. Like I don't know, but it's supposed to be we all know it's supposed to be the PBS stuff. We all know it's supposed to be Sesame Street.
Joke, yeah.
But I think they didn't want to like bother getting the licensing rights, or just wanted to make it a parody and make it obvious that it's a parody, even
100.
though the designs of all the characters is spot on. Like you immediately know Big Bird when you see him like fly down and try to get Homer. You immediately know it's Elmo and Oscar the Grouch when
because he's angry. Like they're after him. They're like chops are foaming at the mouth.
Yeah, no, it's great because you have all these boring, bland shows that are like out for blood.
It's a good day to kick your ass.
Yeah.
So Homer's like, please, I'll do anything. I'll help with your next charity scam. He's like, it's called a drive. He goes,
yeah,
sure. Bob's your uncle. Let's just get out of here. So Lovejoy sneaks him out past the crowd, which is a hilarious scene.
Yeah. I love how he comes in and he's like, PBS people, do not worry. This is only a sack of children's letters of God that I am taking to the dump. And they're like, oh, that's so nice. And they all start waving, like they're all like supportive. And they have a Homer in the sack, and it's so well done. And he has the little eyes kind of on. He's like, kind of like whimpering like a big lovable dog that he is.
Big lovable dog he is, Josh.
Yeah.
Yep, so what he does to get him out of town is he takes him to the airport and puts him on a plane to the South Pacific. And Homer's like, whoa. I didn't sign up for that. And Troy's like, Sorry, bye.
I also love how he doesn't start asking questions until Lovejoy is buckling him into the seat on the airplane. No questions in the airport, driving to the airport, just like only questions start answering because when you're on it, and in the background they had crates of holy Bibles and a water cooler of holy water, which is hilarious. Like I don't think, are you supposed to drink holy water? I'm not religious, and I've only been to church a few times. I don't remember getting like a bottle of holy water.
It is frowned upon, Josh.
Oh, okay.
I had to tell you.
Okay.
So,
all right.
So then we get the second joke that is so important in this episode, and that is, I'm no missionary. I don't even believe in Jebus.
And they
Jebus.
Jebus.
Yeah. Save me, Jebus.
I
say that every day to myself.
Me too. I'm always like Jebus this, Jebus that, especially when I'm watching a lot of Simpsons episodes. And on the commentary, they mentioned Ron did come up with that. That was his. So the writer of this episode, that was one of his gems. And I'm pretty sure Jebus comes up in later episodes as well.
Like it's like a throwaway almost. Yeah, like you never had to make a joke about that, and it was a simple ass thing, and it's absolutely fucking hilarious. But so we start now the second part of the episode. We talked about there's like two different pieces to this episode. Yeah. The second part is he arrives in Microasia at an island in the middle of nowhere, and like that's his missionary work. And it's an island nation, and yeah, it's very separate from that first part. Absolutely. The first part with Betty White, PBS, is extraordinary, and this is like we switch to the island.
And it's because it's a little bit different because it's not like I love PBS and NPR, so like to me those jokes hit really hard, and then we go into kind of like just generic, stereotypical, Micro-Asia jokes. And they're funny. I definitely love some bits, and we're going to talk about it when we get to it.
They have strong characters, which I do like.
Yeah. I mean, it's nothing terrible. It's just kind of like stereotypical stuff. It's nothing really too insightful. But I also wonder if it's one of those things where like they're leaning into the stereotype extra hard to like make it funny.
100%. I had the exact same thought, Josh.
And to show like how silly these kind of notions are, and like Homer is like the useful idiot.
It is overdoing the overdone to show how it's being overdone. I mean,
correct.
That was terrible alliteration, but. It is exactly what you're saying.
It's the same reason where like everything that Uncle Ruckus says in the Boondocks is hilarious because it's so goddamn racist. That's so it could be one of those deals. But I also like how in the house they have Lovejoy over to explain where Homer went. And he's the long bit of him eating this pie. He's like,
smacking his lips.
Got a little piece here. Here. And then, so eventually Marge is kind of like, where's my homie? And I love how you liked Bart's reaction for this. Do you remember what it was?
Well, so Lovejoy's like, listen, he's in Microasia doing missionary work, and Marge is like, missionary work, and Bart's like, he's dead, isn't he? Because it's very unlikely, unlike Homer, to be doing the missionary work. But what he does offer is a ham radio, like the old CB radio. He's like, you connect to him with this ham radio. People used to do that to communicate all over the world. Kids used to do that. And so we're going, Jebus! Where are you, Jebus?
This also ties to our previous episode, The Joy of Sect, when Bart mentions like Homer was really into ham radio for a while. That's a negative, good buddy. So I thought that was pretty funny. Our back-to-back ham radios, right?
Ham radios were a thing for nerds, like like one generation above you and I.
Right.
They were all into it because that was like the telephone back in the day.
Well, and you can always tell who had one because they had the giant antenna up on their roofs or on their car or vehicle. And
it wasn't a terribly expensive hobby.
No.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So now we're showing Homer on the island, and he first steps out and he meets the island. He's like, this is not so bad, but then he meets his first guest, Josh.
Yeah, well, also, the first thing that happens is a butterfly lands on his hands, and then it
Yep.
folds up and goes under his
He's like,
skin,
"Hello, little
and then we
friend."
see it crawl up his arm, across his chest, into his brain, and then it just
Under his
dies.
skin.
Yeah,
Under his skin.
it looks like those like beetles from the Mummy movie in the '90s with Brendan Fraser.
Exactly. It's
I
horrifying.
also love how Craig and Amy, who are the previous missionaries, are like, "Peace the fuck
We're
out."
Craig and Amy.
Yeah, they don't stick around, do they?
No, they fucking bolt, and they're like, "Bye."
Yeah.
He's like, "How do I do this?" And what does she say? She says something like, "First of all, forget everything you've learned about missionary work." And Homer's like, "Done." That's another callback joke we have.
Yeah, in
We're just
the
saying,
Scorpio episode.
Scorpio,
Yeah,
exactly.
he's like, teach them your years of experience at the power plant. That won't take
That
long.
won't take long. So Amy them take off, and Craig's like, "Don't let the bed bugs bite." Like, seriously though. Like,
Yeah.
So Homer meets the natives of this island, and the two he meets is Katuk Tuk and Ak, and they're featured throughout this episode. But they're pretty fun characters, I think.
Yeah, they're kind of like the Lenny and Carl of the island.
Exactly. And there is then his other friend, Lisa Jr., that he meets later. But
Did you write down her whole name, or are you just going to call
I
her Lisa
did.
Jr.?
Actually, I wrote down. So first he meets Tuck and Tuck and Ak.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you gonna do?" And he's like, "Have you ever heard of jet lag?" People, and they're showing him around Josh. And one of the silliest fucking things is he's drinking with a straw out of what looks like a coconut. But the doc is like, "Are you enjoying your ox testicle?" And he's like, "Yes." He's like, "I mean, we have coconuts."
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I
And
thought,
was like, "That's fine."
and he's
I'm
like
good.
slurping it down. They make like the straw slurpy noise
He's-
every time he's just like sucking it down. So those are some really juicy balls. I also love how he drops it, and then he's like, "Now I got ants all over my ox testicle."
And that's when. So this is when he meets Lisa Jr., who
Yeah.
like knocks him off or gives him a new one or something. And he's like, "Hey, you're awesome. Who are you?" And she's like, it is Ulu Iu Kitanawanje."
Oh, not bad. Very good.
And
Yeah.
he goes, "I'm gonna call you Lisa Jr. because she's basically Lisa."
It's also
Is
voiced
our
by
Yardley.
Yardley Smith, so that's one of
Yes.
the rare times we have Yardley doing more than one character for the show. And she's animated with the pearls that Lisa has as well. So you kind of figure out right
You're
away.
meant to see her as Lisa.
Yeah, so Lisa Jr. is a fitting name, and I am also terrible at pronouncing these kind of names. So like, props to you for that. I always mispronounce names. I only know how to say Ak, because Ak is only AK, and it's like
Listen,
very
I've
simple.
messed up Katuk Tuk several times already, and that's not even the hard one.
I kept wanting to call him Katuk, and then I was thinking, oh, TikTok, Talk.
Good
Talk.
Talk.
We also get an earthquake, right? A little bit of foreshadowing here with an earthquake.
It's a silly joke where he's like, "What was that?" And he's like, "It's called."
Oh, yeah.
And he chokes up like a fishbone. He's like,
"Yeah, he's like, sorry, fishbone.
It's called an earthquake, dude." So Homer's like, now they're showing around, and he's like, "All right, so what do I do? Like, I have no idea what I'm doing." They're like, "Well, Craig and Amy were digging a well, and Craig and Amy were also building a chapel." And he's like, Craig and Amy. Why don't you just marry Craig and Amy?"
I love it how Aqua is like, "I told you we should have asked."
It's sincere.
It was pretty funny.
It is a shout out to polyamory in 2000, and that was early on for that. So this is where Homer learns what it means to be on an island, and he learns that there is no TV or beer on the island.
And historically, that's been bad for Homer.
Where's the line? All work and no beer makes Homer something.
Yeah. No beer and no TV makes Homer something. From The Shinning.
The Shinning.
So I love how he drops to the ground and goes, "Oh God, oh God, oh God," and then everybody just mimics him, and all the natives drop to the ground and go, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." That was pretty funny.
So So Homer is a little distraught with his situation, and we find him in a hammock, you know, just worrying about what's going on in the world in this beautiful place. And he manages to find something to inebriate himself, which is the other phenomenal joke from this episode.
Yes, he starts licking toads.
Motherfucker's licking
he
toads.
picks one up and he goes, nothing. And he picks another one up and he goes, here we go. And the animation is amazing because the pupils dilate very quickly. And he's just kind of like,
oh, yeah.
And then we see the frog, right?
Because he's holding it in front of him, it's blocking the radio.
Yeah, and it starts to talk.
And Marge tries to reach
Homer,
out. And he's fucking tripping his balls off. And he thinks it's the frog. But Marge goes, she's in there, she does a little Pink Floyd here. I'm a big Pink Floyd fan. She's like, hello, is there anybody out there? Which is a great Pink Floyd song from then.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that, but that does make sense. They would throw something in there with the hallucinogens that Homer is experiencing, right? Also on the commentary,
the song is called "Comfortably Numb," and it's about taking drugs.
Nice. On the commentary, they also mentioned how like they're kind of having a debate. Like, is this real? Do people do this? Do people lick frogs? Like,
yes, they do.
And so it was kind of funny. They were having like a back and forth about it. And someone was like, "Can you get that like delivery? Do they deliver the frogs to you? Like, how does this work?"
They do they though.
And then Homer has like he finds out it's only been 2 days. And his reply is one of my favorite lines ever. Without TV, it's hard to know when one day ends and the other begins. I have had this on t-shirts, coasters, posters, pins, you name it. And it usually shows Homer like in a chair wearing a bathrobe and like a wife beater and underwear. But I find it funny that it comes from this episode when he's like stranded on an island. And then he starts to promote people, right?
Well, that's it. So then he's talking to the family, and we get towards the end, and Bart's like, "I miss you, Dad. Mom won't let me read Hagar the Horrible, which is an old comic in the paper."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I just don't think it's funny." And Homer's like, "That's it. Like, I need to see the house is falling apart. So here's the new order. Bart, you're the man of the house. Lisa, I'm promoting you to boy. Maggie's now the brainy girl. The toaster can fill in for Maggie, and Marge, you're just a consultant."
I love that Marge is a consultant. It's so funny.
But you know what I love about this bit is then Lisa's like, "Dad," and she's like, "Yes, boy."
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it's so silly.
I also like how Homer gets so excited when he finds out that Ned Flanders and the community think that he's doing humanitarian work. And because he's making like Flanders jealous. He's like all on board now, right? Like he's like, "Oh man, I'm making Flanders jealous.
Like, I'm humanitarian Homer Simpson over and out," and like gives a salute, you know?
Yeah, very silly.
I love that. But one of the great jokes, these callbacks are wonderful, is when Bart's like, "Dad, are you licking toads?"
I'm not licking toads.
I'm not licking toads is another one of the jokes that you and I will always have in our heads. So, humanitarian Homer Simpson is going to save the lives of the natives. And he starts by trying to read the Bible to them. And he just like picks a random passage. It's like, "God will shatter the heads of his enemies like the hairy crown of those who walk in their guilty ways, that you may bathe your feet in blood, as true today as when it was written."
Like, charming Bible verse as always.
That you may bathe your feet in blood.
Yes.
So
such a peaceful book.
He's like, he opens up to a Q&A. And he's like, Hawk is like, if the Lord is all powerful, why does he care whether we worship it or not? Just saying. Is a very smart, insightful phrase, but Homer's like, who am I kidding? I'm no missionary, don't know what the hell to do. And he's like, I work at a nuclear power plant. I'm not a missionary.
Teach us everything you know about nuclear power.
He's like, look. reflection there.
Yeah.
So what he says is, "Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Ah? Like, we need a little razzle dazzle in this town. We're going to build a casino."
Brilliant idea.
And then they like do the construction, and they have this gag about the Flintstones.
Yeah, Homer is like, if the Flintstones has taught me anything, animals love being used to help build stuff or have like, come on, little guy, let's joke, it's a living. And the pelican is his gullet or his bill or whatever that
His
is
bill's all
full
full
of
of
cement.
cement. He's
And then he
mixing
just
it in
knocks over dead flat, like just so dead, which was pretty funny gag there.
He's like, "Oops!" He fucking killed this. It's one of the great little gags in this whole thing.
Yeah,
So,
and then we have Bart going to the power plant in Homer's stead, and so we get like a lot of because he's now the man of the house.
Yes,
and what I
he
find
takes
funny,
the role very seriously.
he does. So he's boarding in, and there's Lenny and Carl, and Lenny's like, "Hiya, Homer," and Carl is like automatically like, "That's not Homer. That's not Homer at all. Like, what are you doing?" But everybody but Carl apparently thinks that like, well,
Lenny
obviously it's Homer. He's doing Homer's job.
He goes, "It's got to be. He's parking in Homer's space."
Yeah.
So then Mr. Burns comes in, and Bart like settling in, like he's down to like do the job.
Yeah.
And Burns comes in, he's like, "You're in trouble." And he's like, "I'm not actually Homer Simpson." He's like, "I think I know who Homer Simpson is."
Which is hilarious callback because famously Mr. Burns always forgets who Homer is. It's always like surprised when something crazy goes on in the plant. He's like, "Who is this buffoon in Sector 7G?"
Homer Simpson has beaten the hell out of Mr. Burns for that exact reason.
Exactly.
So now we cut back to the island now, and Homer has built a casino. Bum, 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 bum.
When you're heading out of town,
say me Jebus.
Go to the hottest place around.
Say me Jebus.
Drink and gamble all day long.
Say me Jebus. Now lick it.
Lick that toad.
Eyes go wide.
Time slows.
A macaroni.
Buffet.
Jackpot winners.
Every day. Go to the Lucky Savage now. It's a casino.
For the natives, which again is like that overt reference that is biting.
Well, it's one thing that white people know how to give Indians is casinos.
Opportunities to lose all of your money and give it away to corporate interests.
And the name of the casino is really on the nose too. The Lucky Savage.
It could be you.
Right. And so once again, you think about Homer. He's a 36-year-old man who grew up like in the 70s, and his reference to native culture, specifically like Southern Pacific Islander culture, is probably minuscule. And I would imagine he's like, well, I saw that movie Tarzan. That's similar, right? You know, or some Charlton Heston movie or something of that nature.
Exactly.
So he's doing like what the best he can, and that's part of the joke. It's just like, oh man, look how terrible we were to these people, and like all these names. And you know, savage was a common phrase for othering native populations from the British and the Americans were taken over.
Exactly. Anybody in a third world country is a savage. But how do we fix it? We didn't fix it by like teaching them practical things. We went and shoved Christianity down their throats.
Yes,
which
it's one of the favorite things to do
on the world. Thank God the world is perfect now. So they've opened up this casino, and not only do they have casino games, they also have a drink that he's like, it's like beer, but it's really just Tristan. What does he say? It's Tristan and holy water. So Tristan was this old flu medicine that you take, and it would really make you drowsy. And
I see.
So people took it for fun. But he's basically talking about scissorup. Do you know scissorup?
Yes,
scissorup
I know of scissorup. Yeah,
with like the coating cough syrup, and you mix that with like Kool-Aid.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do remember. I've never had it myself, but I was talking, I think, to Delvin about it, and he brought it up on one of his shows. So I got an education on what it was, and it's just kind of hilarious. People will take almost anything to get a buzz.
I've made scissor one time. I used to
Really?
play around with little drugs a little bit much when I was younger.
I
So
mean, we would just do
anyway,
hot
now,
toddies, like when I would get like congestion every once in a while with the whiskey and the lemon and the honey and all that other kind of stuff. I also love how almost immediately, so like Homer goes to brag to Marge over the radio, like, look at me, I did good, I am so
calling
great,
into
blah blah
Springfield
blah.
through the ham radio. Yep.
Yeah, and then he comes back, and immediately folks are fighting. There's fires, drunks everywhere.
They're just punching each other. Like in one of the cuts in this, there's just two people in the background. The one guy's just standing there. The guy's just like punching him repeatedly in the stomach, just standing there.
I don't know if it was Ock or Q, but like one of them
they're
was
all
like
hammered, Josh. They're like angry drunk right now.
He's like, I gave you guys he said, what happened? I gave you a glittering Vegas and you turned it into a skanky Atlantic City. I love how like Ock is like, he's like, I don't even like macaroni salad, but look at me, look at me.
He's like face down in a tray of macaroni salad, just like eating it. Like,
yeah, it's pretty gross. Lisa Jr. has another great line. It's like, please help us. Our island has not been this damaged since the A-bomb test.
That is biting comedy, Josh. That is some dark ass humor.
Yeah, it is.
We destroyed some pretty amazing places in the world,
and we didn't get Godzilla like we were promised.
I know. Or what's the beast from Host? The Korean film. That's one of the greatest movies of all time. Host, H-O-S-T, Korean film. It's amazing. Nice. So we're back in Springfield, and Bart is at the end of a very long day. He's been at working all day, and he walks in, and Marge is like, "Guess who I saw at the supermarket?" He's like, "You know what, honey? I just got off work." And she's like, "Bart, you are taking this man of the house thing too far." He's like, "You're right. I'm sorry. Tell you what, Saturday night we'll go out for steaks, just you and me."
Yeah, night out's a night out.
It's so well done.
Yeah, because Bart said something like, "Didn't you do enough gabbing at the salon today?" Like it was pretty funny, and it's very stereotypical like man of the house sitcom like humor, and it just really works.
It's wonderful. And so it's just a quick cut to that, and then we go back to the island.
Yep.
And now Homer feels really bad. He's like messed everything up on the island. He's gotten them all addicted to Tristan and gambling. Yeah. And so he's just sitting there, and he's like trying to pick up the brick at a time and like build a chapel now.
I love how the natives are watching him too, and he's like, he should lift with his knees.
Like, maybe we should help him. He's like,
maybe you should
shut up.
I also love how Homer is like, you're all sinners now, and it's like, what? Since when? Since I showed up. So grab a brick or go to hell.
Yeah. And they're like, oh shit, we don't want to go to hell, so they all help, and they build the chapel, and they build this very nice chapel, and like Homer's done something, and he's like, I don't know much, but I had to say we built a pretty nice cage for him.
And then Lisa Jr. is up at the bell, and Homer decides to pull a frog out of the back of his pocket. He licks the frog, eyes go wide again, and they start ringing the bell very violently.
He's like, I'm the greatest missionary of all time.
Yeah, it's like he says, like, Lisa, you gotta like God can't hear you. We gotta ring the bell louder, right?
And his eyes do the wide thing again. It's
so funny every time they do that. And they do that in other episodes as well.
Hell.
Yeah. So the volcano erupts. We have a very dramatic scene where people are fleeing, houses are being destroyed. Giant
Homer and the girl are still in the tower, and they're about to die.
Yeah, like the ground splits beneath them. There's liquid hot magma everywhere. We see the chapel burn up in flames, and as Homer and Lisa Jr. are almost about to perish, as the top of the chapel is about to hit the lava, we get a pledge break.
Betty White's like, oh, that Homer, always getting into trouble.
When I first saw this episode, even though I was 18 and I should have picked up on this humor by now, it confused the hell out of me. It was really jarring, because you're like, where are they going with this episode? Like, how is this going to end? They can't kill off Homer and have him stranded on this island forever. Like, what gives? And then on the commentary, they said, we had no idea how to end this episode.
It's clear. They just cut away to this thing,
and then
they're
like
like,
upon rewrites and eventually someone came up with the idea. It's like, what if we cut to a pledge break and we tie it back to the opening act? And we're like, brilliant, ship it, we're good.
mm-hmm.
And I love how it's not like for PBS, but it's for Fox.
It's a pledge drive for Fox Television because Fox struggled.
Yes, and
when they first came in.
They have that line from the rep, right? Where he's just like, although Fox makes what is it?
She goes, so it's Betty White, and she goes, sure, Fox makes a fortune from advertising, but it's still not enough.
Not nearly enough. And that's Rupert Murdoch is right there, and they have him drawn on the panel, and including in the panel is Bender from Futurama, Eddie Murphy in the PJs.
Yes.
Rupert Murdoch, as I already mentioned. Hank Hill from King of the Hill, and then they had Mulder and Scully from X-Files. So this really shows you that era of Fox. And it's so goddamn funny with Rupert Murdoch. They're like, give me your money, give in now. And Betty makes a crack about canceled content, and they show the Family Guy logo on a TV, and she turns off the TV. And I found it funny in the commentary. This was like the best part was at the end. They were very apologetic to Family Guy and Seth MacFarlane for making fun of them being canceled because, they're really talented people and they're all big family type of thing in this animation creation world. But what I find ironic about it is now Family Guy has been part of the animation domination block every Sunday on Fox for years, maybe decades at this point. So it was very interesting to kind of see that little dig, and it was even more interesting to kind of hear the
American Dad is a great show too.
Yeah, American Dad, all that stuff. Because Seth MacFarlane, he has a solid block of cartoons and programs on Fox now. Which is kind of hilarious. And
he just do whatever he wants.
And then who saves the day, right? Bart.
Not nearly enough. That was a good Australian accent for Murdoch.
Thank you. Crikey.
So then he gets a call. Murdoch gets a call on the panel. And he's like,
you saved my network.
He's like, $10,000? You saved my network.
Yeah.
And we pick up Bart.
I love Bart.
Bart's like,
go for it.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. Pans right to camera, eyes right to camera, roll credits.
It's so good.
So we are now 3 for 3 on meta jokes about either producers or the network closing out an episode. Once again, this is not planned, folks. It just kind of happens. So I thought that was pretty damn funny.
It was cocky. There's this season 10 nearly, I think.
Yeah.
Or 11, and it is cocky as shit.
Well, and also I like how Rupert doesn't care. He's like, yeah, go ahead, use me. Sure. Yeah, whatever. I don't care. Make me a ridiculous character.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, I love it.
Nice.
All right, Josh.
Well,
so that was it.
What are your final thoughts on Missionary Impossible?
It's interesting. It really literally changed during this conversation today. I love the bits, and I'd say this is a great fun episode to watch with anyone. But I had it lacking in depth in my mind until we spoke about it today. I was going to give it a 2. Well, we haven't done that yet. I won't say that.
Yeah, get the bits right.
Sorry, Josh.
All right. Well, I'll give my final thoughts then.
Okay.
The first half of this episode is more enjoyable than the second, probably because I appreciate PBS more than the missionary work in casinos. Betty White is a fabulous guest star. Homer donating $10K and then stalling was great and very funny, especially the stabbing with the pen. We get Jebus, we get Sanctuary, we get ox testicles and licking toes. But everything else is just kind of okay on the island. And it doesn't really tickle my pickle compared to the earlier bits. And like I said, upon the first viewing, the final cutaway confused me, but now I actually think that is so funny. It just really, really makes me laugh, and I'm glad I turned around and actually started to get the joke. Well, great job, you.
Oh, great job, me. I'm awesome.
Robin, do you hear that sound?
What's that, Josh?
Well, you know what time it is. It's the
Krusty Brand Seal of Approval. Oh,
that's right. Yeah. We'll give you scores from 1 to 5.
Since I've already given away, I'm going to go first, Josh. I was going to give this episode a 2, and then my thought was that it is it's just like this solid episode of a great Simpsons episode that's not one that I would really revisit as much, and not one that was like the creme de la creme. But talking about it today, I'm going to give it a definite 3 because I love these jokes so much. They're so well done, and they've carried with me for so many years. And it's a cautious 3. I would think about and entertain the concept of getting a 4, but I'm going to give it a 3.
Yeah, I'm also a 3, so we're matching again after a few episodes of us having different scores. But it's the same. The PBS jokes hit really hard, and there is the licking toads and Jebus, so that bumps it to a 3.
Jebus!
And you know, it's fine. It's entertaining. I enjoyed it, but it's definitely an episode where I can even see myself just stop watching as soon as Save Me Jebus is said, and you just see him fly off, and you just want to watch the PBS bits. We were also talking about how, like, sometimes, you know, you forget which A and B plot are kind of together. So there is just this one where, like, I just think like the beginnings portion is just so much more entertaining to me than the final one. And the whole like stereotypical jokes of natives and whatnot gets tiring.
It's really saved by the little stupid bit with Marge and Bart and Lisa.
Yes. Yeah, and those
really
are kind of
helps.
Cute too.
That's cute, but it helps the second half because you're right. The second half is not as. I mean, we shot through it faster than the first bit by 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yep. Well then.
All right.
And that's a wrap for Sacrilicious with Robin and Snurts. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're feeling generous, then please leave us a 5-star review with a few sentences. We are currently on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. Shout out to the following people: The Who Would Win Show with Ray Stacanis and James Gatsby, the best nerd fight podcast around. It's time for the 6th Showdown September, which focuses on more popular matches like Goku versus Superman or Indiana Jones versus Lara Croft. So if you like these characters and you want to see them fight, they're a very clever show, and they are very encouraging of other content creators. So I can't recommend this show enough. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and I look forward to listening to it every Wednesday. Also, I want to say happy birthday to my mother Lori and my cousin Jared, who will be having birthdays in the early part of September. And
is he the one in Atlanta?
Yes, he is the one in Atlanta.
That's my Georgia brother.
Yeah. He's 9 months older than me. So Jared and I were the kids who were going off in Disneyland, like when we got to a certain age and got to go run around Tom Sawyer Island and all that kind of stuff. So I hope he has a good celebration. And of course, Ma, your birthday is 9/11, so I'm sorry, but hopefully you can have a nice day anyway. And of course, Dr. Moxford, the raddest fan of them all.
The doctor. Love you.
You want to hear more from your old pals, nerds? Then check out the PlayStation Experience on your podcast platform of choice. I can also be found on most things at Lord_Snurts. Robin, any outros or plugs?
So several things. I got 3 things. One is it's magma when it's inside the mountain. And it's lava when it's outside of the mountain.
Oh, okay.
That's magma versus lava.
All right. That's some science, folks.
We should do an X-Files watch show. Because you have to do it through...
I don't know. I'm not a big X-Files fan. I'll
find somebody else. Sorry, I didn't but I really want to give a shout out to the strong women, very intelligent women in my life, my whole life growing up. Watching the fucking girl power Democratic National Convention has been lovely to see. And one of the things that I think societally is that our smart, intelligent, strong women are good, great leaders. And I'm so grateful for the women that led me in my life. And so that's it, Josh.
Nice. Well, that's a very good send-off there. And yeah, here's hoping everything goes our way in November. But before then, you're going to get our next episode of Sacrilicious with Robin and Snurts on Sunday, September 15th. I picked Homer to the Max from Season 10. So until next time, folks, smell you later, true believers.
Worst episode ever.
Save me, Jebus!
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.